Hi, so today we're going to talk about 1.4, which is adding and subtracting integers. So here we go. So the first thing we need to talk about is what an integer or a real number is. An integer is when you have a positive or negative number. What's the difference between a positive and a negative number? A positive is on the right side of a number line, and a negative is on the left side of a number line. So here's a number line. Now, the farther you go to the right, the bigger your numbers get, and they're always positive. The farther you go to the left, your numbers get smaller, and they're always negative. For example, -2 is smaller than -1. That's the hardest part people have, is when you have negatives on the other side. Okay, so let's talk about how to add integers. There's two types of integers that you will have when you add. So the first one, well, there's three actually. So we have a zero pair, and a zero pair is when you have the same exact number of adding and subtracting, adding of the same numbers, both positive and negative. For example, a -1 and a +1 will always cancel out to equal 0. The same thing with -3 plus 3. That will always equal 0. -10 plus a +10. Anytime you have a positive and a negative number, they cancel out to become a 0. Now, when you have two numbers that are negative, then you add them and keep the negative sign. So -3 and -7 equal -10, and -5 and -8 equal a -13. I like to think of these as ninjas fighting. If you have 3 negative ninjas and 7 negative ninjas, are they going to add? Are they going to join forces, or are they going to fight? Well, if they're the same, they're on the same side, they're going to combine. So when you have a -3 and a -7, they're going to join forces to give you a total of 10 negative. The same thing over here. If I have 5 negative ninjas and 8 negative ninjas, they're going to join forces to give me 13 negative ninjas. When you have one positive and one negative, let's take a look at -8 plus 5. -8 plus 5. Now, who is going to win this fight? Who's going to win this fight is who you have the most of. I have more negatives. So remember that a negative cancels out a positive. So if I have 8 negatives and 5 positives, that means that this and this cancel out. This and this cancel out. This cancels out. This cancels out. This and this cancels out. So what are you left with? 3 negatives. Now I got that. I don't want to make this diagram for every time I subtract. So you look to see who you have the most of, and that's who you're going to end up with. I have more negatives, so my answer is negative. Now, what's 5 minus 8? 3. So I know that I'm going to have a -3 for my answer. So let's do -14 plus 18. Who do I have more of? I have more of the positives, so I know my answer is going to be positive. Now just subtract them. What's 18 minus 14? 4. So my answer is going to be +4. And that's adding integers.